Trying to get everything going. I think maybe we got it fixed. We'll find out just in a second. You guys there? Leave me some comments. I'll see if I can see those. Seems to be there. I don't know. I hope you can see me. I'm in a new setting trying to get it set up. I'm sitting here in the sanctuary at Restoring Hope Church in Nashville, Tennessee. Sorry. It's been a bit of a hectic time to get in here and get set up, but we're on a little bit late, but we're on, so looks like it's working. How you guys doing today? Good to see you on the show. And we're set up here in the sanctuary of Restoring Hope Church. It's kind of dark. Can't really see much. I can move the camera a little bit. You can maybe see. I'll show you this in a second. They're getting ready for Vacation Bible School here in the sanctuary. So she's turned some lights on now. Look at that. Lynn's going to help us out. Let's get rolling. How you guys doing today? I'm going to shut this music down for me. How you guys doing? Good to see you on the show today. And I know it's kind of weird lighting, but that's just all I can do. That's all I got today. So maybe I can do over here. It'd be better. How you guys doing anyway? I was going to show you the sanctuary there. We got it all set up for Vacation Bible School. They got their balloons, everything going here. And if you can see, I don't know if you can see it or not. Let me see if I can find it. Right here, there's a line going across right there. That's Trevor's tightrope. He's going to be walking. Can't you wait? His mama can't wait for that to happen. I said no one ever. No music today, just me and you guys on the camera and the church here. It's day 3 of Keep From Falling. And so we're talking about that whole process of falling down. And I want to try to catch up with where we were. I'm trying to look at the right place in the camera because I'm not used to my computer. If we go down, if we think about, and I can't see your comments, by the way. I see some of your commenting, I think, looks like, but I can't see it. So I'm sorry. We've been talking this week about falling. We've been talking about that. Oh, by the way, we're not here seeing the grandbaby. I'm just saying that. Okay, we're here seeing the grand. Only reason we live now. No, I'm just kidding. I posted a video of Gimli. He's excited to see us too. He's jealous. He likes to steal all the attention away from Finley, so it's kind of funny. But we're just hanging out in Nashville with the kids. And we've been talking all week about falling. If you haven't been here, we've been talking about that process where we laid down 4 ground rules. Here they are. I'll do a quick review. 4 ground rules. Number 1, you can fall. Number 2, everybody does. Number 3, it's possible to avoid falling. And number 4, God wants to keep you from falling. That's kind of been our talk this week. That's the foundational rules. Then we got into what are your fall factors? What are the things that cause you to fall? What things in your life always trip you up, slip you up, get you in trouble, cause you to make a mistake, cause you to get discouraged? What are those things in your life? And we kind of use an example of senior citizens trying to keep the junk out of their house to keep them from, help, I've fallen and I can't get up. That whole process, right? So we talked about that. Well, anyway, so today we're going to pick back up where we were. I'm trying to find out where that is here in my little notes. We asked what makes you fall, and we talked about that. And then we gave some passages. And here's some things I want you to think about. Simply falling can lead to your end. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that because they want to think, oh, I can never, ever get in real trouble with my relationship with God. But we know in the Bible, all kinds of people do. They get in all kinds of trouble. So we understand that falling can lead to your end. You can get in real trouble. And a lot of times when we fall, instead of running to God like we should, we run the opposite direction. You know, God's not here for our condemnation. He's here for our success. He loves us. So here's what, let me just pick up here. What are your fall factors? That's what we talked about. What are your fall factors? And I went through a long list yesterday. I'll go through it again. Anger, is that what makes you fall? Or jealousy, or envy, or lust, or unforgiveness, or hurt, or what are the things that cause you to stumble in your life? You know, when something happens, a situation where, like yesterday, driving down here, I had a lot of opportunity for road rage. I'm just going to say that. And a few times I was like going, what's your problem? But I didn't sin. I don't think I did. I'm pretty sure I didn't. Some people just ought not to be behind the steering wheel of a car. I'm just saying. That's just me. So what is it that causes you to fall? Is it media? You know, that television set, those movies, your phone, Facebook, Safari, something you go look at, you shouldn't be looking at, things you say, you shouldn't say. What is it that causes you to fall? Is it gossip? Is it a critical spirit where you just want to criticize everybody? I'm going to sneeze. That's a first, 400 and something broadcasts. I don't think I've ever sneezed on the broadcast. Maybe I have. But today is the day for the sneeze. So you got a critical spirit. Is that what's going on? Maybe it's addiction. You know, I deal with a lot of people in addiction. Our community where I live, addiction is pretty intense, pretty serious. And a lot of people can't resist. Once they get hooked on that OxyContin, they start smoking that crack, meth, whatever it is, cooking that meth, whatever they're doing, it takes over their life. What is it that causes you to fall? Is it addiction? I wrote this down. Some people may understand this, fame. And in the era of Facebook, I think a lot of people probably are trying to find their 15 seconds of fame on Facebook. They just keep posting more and more risque pictures are way out there because they're trying to find their fame, and it's causing them to fall into things they shouldn't be in. Is it just you waiting for another opportunity? Lord, I'm going to be a Christian until something better comes along. So what is it? It's important to know your vulnerabilities because those are the things that are most likely going to get you. I had a preacher one time, I was in a service, and this is what he said I want you to think about. He said, guard your strengths and strengthen your weaknesses. Now, you have to know what both categories are before you can do either of those things. You can't guard a strength you don't realize you have. You keep saying, I can't do this, you can't guard it. And then if you don't know what your weaknesses are, then you can't strengthen them. So it's important to know what your weaknesses are. It's important to know your vulnerabilities. Where are the areas? Because I just tell you this, you may or may not be aware, but the enemy knows your vulnerabilities. The enemy knows exactly what gets you. The enemy knows exactly what takes you down because he's done it to you so many times and you go plop every time. And so it's important to know your vulnerabilities so that you can guard against those things. And I want you to think about this, and I think you're going to relate to that. We tend to fall over and over to the same things. Now, I want to talk about the individuality, the uniqueness of our own personal lives. Neither one of us, none of us are the same. And if you're just tuning in, we're in Restoring Hope Church in actually Hendersonville, Tennessee. It's the church that Aaron and Amanda Crabbe have founded here, and our son and his wife are on staff, and they're getting ready for their big vacation Bible school. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to be juggling, and that's kind of right in front of me. And so anyway, but we're all different individuals, and here's what you have to understand. Some things that would tempt you or cause you to fall will have no effect on me, but then there are things that would tempt me or cause me to fall have no effect on you because we're different people, and we've led different lives and been exposed to different things. And so we tend to fall over and over to the same thing. And the enemy kind of knows that. He knows that often we just get caught up and it just takes one little thing and we're done. If it's a memory, maybe it's somebody in your family says something, maybe it's just somebody in your family. I don't know what it is. We tend to fall over and over to the same things. And I want you to look at Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1 today. That's the verse we're going to look at today in the Word. Hebrews 12:1, we're going to kind of jump down in the middle of the verse. Let us lay aside every weight. And I want you to listen to this next line. And the sin that doth so easily beset us. Now, can I say this? I don't think it's always sin that makes us fall. I mean, I think it becomes sin. When we let it make us fall, it may turn into sin. But I don't know that it's always sin that makes us fall as much as just things in our lives. Sometimes it's memory. Sometimes it's our past. Let us lay aside every weight. Now, if you were with us on day 2 when we went through that long list of things in people's house, clutter in the floor, rugs that are not nailed to the floor, things we talked about. What is it in your life that you need to clear out of the way? You ever watch the show Hoarders? Whoa, I'm kind of a hoarder, kind of. Not like that. I hoard up tools and pieces of wood and furniture for projects because I'm always building something or refurbishing something. So that's kind of my deal. It's kind of my thing. I love to do that. And so sometimes my shop gets so cluttered it's hard to walk through. And I've actually fallen a couple of times because idiot here couldn't just move a board out of the way or a pile of junk left over from the last project because I'm not the best, I don't think, always about getting all that junk straightened out. So it says in Hebrews 12:1, let us lay aside every weight and the sin. So it's both. If it's just a weight, some clutter, or if it's really sin in your life, that does so, and I want you to see the connotation that's given here is, does so easily. Easily. And that's the key word for us, easily beset us, which means it's a very simple process. The devil pushes a button, boom, we go. And sometimes it's not even the devil. Do you know that? I'm looking around, he's not here. Sometimes it's not even the devil. Sometimes it's just us. Sometimes it's just life. There's lots of things that can come into your life to cause you to fall. They're not all right out of hell. Here's what I want you to think about in point 3, I believe it is, under how to keep from falling. Avoid your vulnerabilities. Avoid. You ever hear the story about the guy? It's an old joke. He goes to the doctor and says, "Doc, it hurts when I do this." And the doc says, "Well, don't do that." It's pretty obvious, isn't it? If I'm sitting here hitting myself in the head with a hammer, bing, bing, and you come in and what are you doing? I'm hitting my head. This really hurts. You would probably say to me, well, stop. If you stop doing it, it's not going to hurt. And so we need to learn how to avoid our vulnerabilities, whatever they are. And I would say avoid those vulnerabilities until God does a miracle in your life, which we'll talk about. Let's look at a couple passages in the Bible that tell us that. 1 Thessalonians 5:22, abstain from even the appearance of evil. Abstain. Let me go to another version of the Bible. This is a Message Bible. Throw out anything tainted with evil. So we're seeing this process where I'm smart enough to know that if I got a bunch of junk in the floor of my house, if I walk through there, I'm going to trip over it. So the smart person cleans it out. So we flip that over to our Christian life, and here's what I got to know. I need to throw out anything in my life that is tainted with evil. You know, I remember back in Brownsville revival days, if you guys ever heard of that, they always had this thing that they would say at the end of the altar call to people. Is that if you've been in a relationship with somebody and you break up, you give them back their jacket, you give back their ring, you give them back, usually anyway, girls might keep the diamond and sell it, make some money. But you get rid of those things that are the memories or they're connected to that person. Well, you know what? In our life with Christ, as we come and walk with Him and we want to be successful and not fall, we have to remove the things that are connected to former life, things that are connected to evil, things that, I mean, some music just by itself alone is enough to make anybody fall because it's so laden with filth and anger and violence. Throw out, and then this is the New Living Translation, same passage, 1 Thessalonians 5:22. Stay away from every kind of evil. Stay away from every kind of evil. So abstaining is a big deal. If you avoid these things that cause you to fall, then you're not very likely to fall because you're moving away from those things. And so it's an easy proposition. And I said this to the church Sunday kind of as a joke. Think about this. Things that cause you to fall will cause you to fall. That's obvious, isn't it? Things that cause you to fall will cause you to fall. Well, that's the reality, but here's the reality. You are vulnerable, and so whatever it is that causes you to fall, if you let yourself get involved or around it, or you're probably going to fall. You know, if a guy comes into my office and he's just fresh out of drugs, the first thing I say is, dude, you got to stop associating with those people because as soon as you get in the company of those people, and you're going to fall. This is my son-in-law's testimony. He was at Teen Challenge. He was doing great. He came back home for a little visit and went out and met with those friends. He said within 30 or 40 minutes he was already shooting up. Why? Because things that make you fall will make you fall. And until you've been changed by the grace of God, until you've let God fix you, then you're vulnerable. So avoidance is like a huge big deal. You got to stay away from this stuff. You got to get it out of your life. And as long as you allow it to stay, you're allowing an opportunity to fall, and you probably will, because things that cause you to fall usually cause you to fall. It's like chips at my house. If they're in the cabinet, they're probably going to be eaten. I'm just saying that. I'm saying if I'm going in, you know how you meander into the kitchen, you don't know what you want, you're like, and you open those doors, and there are those Doritos, those barbecued chips. And you open, it's like all of a sudden you're going like, whoa. You're sitting there, whoa, looking at those chips. If they weren't there, you wouldn't be eating them. If those chips weren't in your house, they wouldn't be part of the process. You wouldn't fall to that. So, you know, you got to get these things out of your life until you allow God to change you. And we understand that part of the work that Christ does in our life is that transformation, that He changes us, that He takes us from one to another. If any man's in Christ, he's a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things become new. We understand that the processes of God are to transform us. Romans 12:1, be transformed by the renewing of your mind, which is where all your fall switches are. It's in your mind. And so I want to close with this because we're out of time today. We fall because we're vulnerable. And until you are no longer vulnerable, like there's a lot of things that I used to be vulnerable to that I'm not anymore. Let me just give this testimony. I remember the day after I got saved, I started a new job. Now, before I got saved, I was a drunk and a pothead and a drug addict. I was a messed up person. And so I get saved on Sunday and start a new job on Monday. Now, this is kind of crazy. So I go in and start the new job. It's like at a convenience store. I was a young kid, 18 years old, and I went to a convenience store to go to work. And the first day of work, I'm thinking I'll stock shelves, I'll check people out. They said, well, today your first job is to stock the beer cooler. And I was like, well, I'm done. There's no way I can go in me alone in a beer cooler. I mean, it's the end of the world. They'll be calling the cops to come get me. And I remember they sent me in there, and I was like, oh gosh, I can't do this. I can't do this. And I walked in there, and I heard that beer cooler door close behind me. And all of a sudden, I realized. I looked down. There was Lowenbrow, which was my favorite in those days. Draft. I looked down at that, and it was gone. I didn't want it anymore. And right then, I knew that I'd been transformed. So we know that God transforms us. We know that process. And we are vulnerable until God transforms us. So we fall until we let God transform us. And then we're no longer vulnerable because God breaks it. We must join God in the war against our weakness. Are you at war against your weakness, or are you accommodating it? You know, a lot of church people today accommodate their weakness. They use grace as an excuse to continue to live. And I want to remind you as we close the day of the words of Paul. Because of grace, should we go on sinning? And of course the answer is, do you guys know the answer, right? The answer is, God forbid. We shouldn't go on sinning because of grace. We should be transformed. So today I want you to think about falling in your life and the chances that you had to fall down. And I'm going to be working here hard today helping Trev. Let me give you a little last sweep. We're at Restoring Hope Church in Nashville. In fact, if you got family down here, they should come out tonight, tomorrow night, and Friday night for their Vacation Bible School. Trevor's going to be doing some pretty crazy things. I can't give it away, but pretty awesome. And I'll show you, this is the sanctuary where they got the tent set up, see, because it's a circus theme. And then here's all their balloons. And right up here in the... somebody's messaging me while I'm on the air. Right up here, you can see this line. That's Trevor's going to be walking a tightrope. So y'all pray for his mama, because she's having a hard time dealing with that. But well, that's our show for today. Good to see you guys. I know things are a little bit different, and I'll be here tomorrow and Friday. It looks like we got a connection. We can do it. So I'm going to go back and see how it went, get a little bit better lighting. Might even find a keyboard somewhere and sing a little bit. Love you guys. You guys have an awesome, great day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.